With that, my panel is here in the arena. Congressional correspondent for the New York Times, Annie Carney, CNN Washington Bureau Chief and Political Director, David Chalian, former Communications Director for the DNC, and a CNN political commentator, Xochitl Hinojosa. And also, we're joined by former Republican Congressman and Speaker Pro Tem, Patrick McHenry. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Congressman, I think you have the distinction of both being a Republican and a Catholic. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Fair.
Fair. Whose side are you on in the Pope versus Donald Trump?
So this is the most predictable thing ever, by the way. This is the most predictable thing ever. It is. Both the Pope and the President are in their lanes, right? So the Pope is speaking in favor of peace, like all modern popes have, and President Trump is speaking in favor of eventual peace through a number of different means. So this is not new, but it is so completely within the Trump era that everything, not just in the United States, is dictated by the president's view and opinion and people's response to it, but everywhere in the globe, people are responding to President Trump's tweets or memes or anything like that.
But what's new is, like, Donald Trump, because it's just him, right, is to watch 60 Minutes, get so angry about a 60 Minutes segment with the Cardinals, with the American Cardinals on it, and then fire off that long tweet that you said, without thinking about what fight he's actually picking here, because he picked a fight, and I think his trajectory that you walked us through all week long, Kasie, kind of gets at this. He realized it was a fight, I think by the end of the week when he was on the South Lawn, that it wasn't one that he necessarily wanted to have for a second week. He's picking a fight with a more popular figure than he is. He's picking a fight from the head of the Catholic Church who represents a swath of voters in America in terms of their faith that Donald Trump made huge gains with recently and doesn't want to lose all of that work that he did. And I just think you can see throughout the week, he went from that angry Trump after 60 Minutes to be like, I'm not picking a fight. He can say what he can say, and I can say what I can say.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. Well, and also, Donald Trump he doesn't really know how to be told no. He believes that he is, the person above everybody. The courts have told him no in some instances. He doesn't always listen to the courts. He believes that he can do no wrong. And so when something like this and when the Pope comes out, I think the only person who was surprised is Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump, the fact that presidents have had to deal with criticisms from the Pope before, not direct criticisms by name, but they're not out going and picking these fights. And so it just seems like Donald Trump doesn't understand that the teachings of the Catholic faith. They talk about war, they talk about poverty, they talk about loving thy neighbor. And I'm not sure if Donald Trump just didn't realize that or what it was. I think what crossed the line, and I don't see anyone defending him, not even Republicans, are these, Jesus photos. And I think that is what has sort of what is completely crossed the line for
I would
Americans.
push back a little bit on all of you saying this is not surprising. Let's just remember, this is Pope Leo. This is not Pope Francis. Pope Francis was more outspoken. This is a Pope who has tried to be not political, not comment on world affairs. So I think his comments, while actually mild compared to the most of the rhetoric we hear today, was significant. And I think it's significant that Trump pushed back, especially because he and his administration, at Hegseth in particular, have tried to position this as a moral war with God on their side. And this is the leader of the Catholic Church who, as David said, is very popular, more popular than Trump.
And who, by the way,
no.
is an American.
Right.
That's, to me, what also seems to make this different and less predictable than what you seem to suggest.
So I think he's in hot water, and I think that just this was not a fight necessarily that we saw with this Pope. This is this Pope's first real foray into taking on Donald Trump like this.
What would you say, Congressman, has been your interpretation of the reaction to the AI photo depicting the president as Jesus Christ? Because, I mean, look, this is not a president who backs down, right? Often he does things that great swaths of people tell him is extraordinarily offensive, and he kind of barrels through. He didn't. He took it down in this case in the face of pretty withering criticism. Why?
This is a rare moment where this is taken down. But President Trump knows that, and his team knows, that memes have driven our politics. I mean, look at the Marco Rubio memes of sitting on the couch dressed as whatever fixer of the week.
They're
right?
amazing.
Completely amazing, right? But the president will take at-bats and swing and miss and be okay with it. And so he looks at the margin and says everybody holds back from that line, and he will occasionally step over the line to see if he can redefine rules of engagement. That's what happened here. And so, yes, the key constituencies that are Trump supporters responded in a way that the president could understand, and therefore he made a change.
Yeah, is he actively trying to lose the midterms at this point? I mean, I would say that picking a fight with the Pope, if you're just looking at the week, higher gas prices, a war that the majority of Americans do not agree with. I mean, that was just this week. Before that, there was like the true socialing on Easter Sunday, all of these things. I have not seen one instance in this last week where Donald Trump did something helpful for Republicans to win back the midterms. Not one. And he can't stay on message either when it comes to the economy. And so if I'm a Republican right now, I'd be like, okay, are we on the same page? Are we like actively trying to lose the midterms here? Or like what's going on?
Congressman?
Good question.
Yeah, he is.
No, the couple of things. So they took a target of opportunity in Iran, had a devastating impact on the initial go of it. Now everybody's responding after we've decimated their Navy, their Air Force, the technology from China and Russia that was used in Iran. We are the global leader in defense, and everybody's saying, well, they haven't surrendered. Who's left to surrender to? We have a historic meeting between Vice President Vance and the Speaker of the Iranian Parliament. The first time we've had direct diplomatic relations in 47 years, historic stuff. So there's a lot going on here, and it's where we end up in September and October that will determine the midterms, not where we sit in really what has been a rough couple of months for Republicans, admittedly.
A rough couple of months. I mean, the way that Peggy Noonan put what the president did this week, she said of the president, how odd it is to go to war, well, already in other wars, with the head of a vast and ancient institution, with a man whose job titles include Vicar of Christ, head of the Holy See, and Bishop of Rome, and who is a spiritual leader, the spiritual leader of 1.4 billion Catholics and the biggest Christian denomination in America. Now, she notes the president's comments speak of something disordered in the administration's relationship to faith. I think that the conversation we've been having shows that it also is a bit disordered in terms of politics, electorally, if you would like to win elections here in